Hey guys, so this week we're going to be talking about post frame construction, what it is, what it looks like, a few of the details. We're going to have Luke and he's going to talk about the details of post frame construction, how it goes together, pros and cons, and hopefully you guys are going to learn a lot more this week about what post frame construction is and how it works.
Post frame construction is basically vertical posts or columns and beams set on top of that supports your roof system. I would say the biggest difference between post frame and stud wall is just that doing an open wall on a post frame is so much easier, and then closing in an open wall later is so much easier as well. It's already set up for it. Yeah, with post frame versus stud wall, say with a stud wall, you're gonna have to add structural members over doors and windows, where post frame, all your truss carrying's at the top of the wall, so you can basically add a door or window wherever you want. And I think that there's a few things about that, because post frame in general, you can really customize it a lot. Stud wall, I think you can maybe even customize a little bit more. You can get into like horizontal lap siding as for finishing, whereas with post frame, it's typically gonna be easier to go with the vertical lap siding. So that's typically what we do. It's not gonna be a good fit for if you just need like a massive industrial warehouse. Just by the time you get trusses engineered for that, it's just gonna be a pretty crazy building, and it's just better off to go for a metal building at that point. Yeah, so one of the big benefits of a stud wall building is that doing your interior finishing, if you're doing it with drywall, stud wall is really the way to go. So much easier, and it's just gonna be a lot easier to do it that way. One of the best things about post frame is just the strength of it, the connection of truss to beam, beam to post, and then post to your foundation is just really strong, and that's kind of one of the big perks of post frame construction. To talk a little bit about customizing buildings, post frame is, in my opinion, very customizable way to build. Like just looking at the foundation options, you can do a screw pile foundation, you can do it on concrete pilasters, you can do it on a concrete wall, on a retaining wall. There's so many options. Even if you want to go old school and do the post right in the ground, you can do that with post frame construction. Whereas with something like a stud wall, you're pretty much limited to building on a full foundation. And then with a metal building, you're going to see the foundation requirements are going to be just more than a typical stud wall or a post frame. But there's lots of builders that will do a pretty standard building. They'll have standard sizes, standard pricing, and it's like one size fits all. They kind of do the same system on every building. That's one thing we like to get away from a little bit, is if a building needs to be built into a bank somewhere and have a retaining wall on the backside, or if we need to have change of elevation in the building, we can get into some more custom options there. And then just whether it's adding lean-tos, different roof pitches, roof designs, just to kind of suit whatever the site requires. We just want to get into a little bit of, a few of our favorite things about post frame, regardless of what the site conditions are. If it's soft ground, we can do screw piles, and it's like no factor. If we need a retaining wall, we can build post frame on a retaining wall to deal with a sloped site with screw piles and add on to an existing building. There's just so many options that we can do with post frame, and kind of one of our favorite things is just all the flexibility and all the custom options. So for our foundation, typically we're gonna try to use a screw pile foundation, which is gonna be metal, concrete pilaster, and concrete wall are typically the three different options that we're gonna use. Moving on to posts, there's a few different options for posts as well. You'll see 6x6 posts, 8x8 posts, and then you'll also see laminated posts that might be like a 3-ply 2x6 or a 4-ply 2x8, depending on the building. For strapping, or wall girts, we'll typically use 2x6. And you can also see 2x4 strapping wall girts now and then, whether that's on the inside or a smaller span between your posts. Yeah, so beams or truss carriers, we're gonna have typically a 3-ply 2x10, and then depending on the span, sometimes that'll be a 2x12, sometimes it'll be an LVL. So for our roof systems, we typically are gonna have engineered trusses. That's gonna be the main roof for most of our buildings. We'll see trusses for some lean-tos as well, and then we can also get into rafters for lean-tos, rafters for some main roof sections. A couple options there, but that's mostly what it is. Engineered trusses are gonna be the bulk of our roofs, and then rafters for the rest. On top of the trusses or rafters, we'll have 2x6 roof purlins. That's what's gonna span from truss to truss and basically carry the roof cladding. So for our exterior cladding, whether it's the roof or the exterior siding, even our interior liners and ceilings are all gonna be tough rib to 29 gauge steel siding like corrugated metal. Now the metal that we use comes with a 40-year warranty on the paint, and that's kind of like part of our warranty as well, is including that paint warranty. So another option for interior cladding on the buildings is we'll do plywood on the walls to make it easier to hang shelves or whatever. We can also do kickboard, 2x8s or 2x6s, just nailed on the wall, stacked up. Good for, like, say in a riding arena or where there's gonna be cattle, or like making a shaving bin inside of your building.
So one of the things about post frame buildings kind of have a bit of a reputation from years gone by of, you know, only lasting 25, 30 years. We actually just had a guy come in and tell us all his old buildings that were built around the same time, and everyone he knows that posts were rotting off, and that was about 25, 27 years ago. They're all starting to rot off and sag and have problems. Today we build a lot more sustainable way. It's going to last a lot longer than 25 to 30 years. And one of the main ways we do that is we're bringing the posts out of the ground. We're mounting them either on a screw pile or concrete foundation and keeping the wood out of the ground, out of the moisture, protecting it so that down the road those problems don't come up. It's easy to cheap out a little bit and make the sale, make those buildings with the wood in the ground, but we don't want to see people 25, 30 years from now having that problem, whether it's the person we sold it to or future owners of the property. It's one of the things we hate seeing is driving around seeing all these old buildings that are starting to lean and fade because they built them the best that they could with the equipment they had at the time, but we have better ways to do it now, and we want to use those ways to build buildings that are going to last longer and that are going to stay solid for a lot longer than they used to. Yeah, so thanks guys for watching this video. This week we talked about post frame buildings and how they're built, how they contribute to sustainability, and the new construction methods we use so that they last a lot longer. We talked about different materials we use, how they're built, and the craftsmanship that goes into our buildings in particular, as well as how customizable they are. Hopefully you found this useful, and if you have any other questions or there's questions that have come up by watching this video, go ahead, drop those in the comments below, and we'll make more videos. We're gonna answer more questions. We wanna answer as many questions as we can about post frame construction and about the construction industry, so don't be scared. There's no question that we're afraid of. Ask those questions in the comments and we'll be happy to answer them.